Welcome to the world of F. Gorham Brigham Jr. It's a world of handwritten notes that offer thanks and praise. It's a world of a sharply dressed and well-spoken man, someone who genuinely wants people to connect with each other and gives gentle persuasion to make that happen. It's a world of always being on time and of doing what he says he will do when he says he will do it. Gorham's is the world of a family man, a patriot, a distinguished executive, a generous, altruistic giver, and dedicated relationship builder. Gorham is 100 years old and counting. Let's look at the past century of his life and see many things that he has witnessed, experienced, and enjoyed in all of that time.
It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to...
The world was at war in 1915, the year Gorham was born.
To the sweetest girl I know. Goodbye.
The Red Sox, with Babe Ruth, won the World Series. There were cars manufactured in Waltham that could be had for $600, and Victorian fashion was still in, but clearly on the way out. The 20s roared in, along with gangster Al Capone, votes for women, and drinks at the speakeasy. It was 10 years of elementary schooling for Gorham at the Chestnut Hill School and then at Rivers.
I played the usual sports, football, baseball.
Clear again. Let us sing a song of cheer again.
The 30s. Shirley Temple, Joe Louis, and Broadway production extravaganzas dominated the 1930s, along with the sinister presence of Hitler.
When I got to the 10th grade, I moved to Milton Academy. I was on the baseball team, and I was manager of the hockey team. Sang in the Glee Club. In my senior year at Milton Academy, I was playing right field on the baseball team. And I came to bat, and I hit a beautiful ball into the right field, but I made a big mistake on the way to second base. I dropped my hat, so I stopped and picked it up, and I was called out at second base, and the coach sent me to the shower, so that was not very good. I graduated in 33. I went to Harvard, class of 37, and then I went to the Harvard Business School, class of 39. I worked for a year in public accounting.
The 40s brought World War II, Frank Sinatra, and the famous movie Casablanca. Gorham was called up to join the Army in 1940 and worked for the one and only General George C. Marshall.
I came home from playing golf, and my mother was crying. I said, "What's the trouble?" She said, "You've been ordered to active duty effective tomorrow in the office of General Marshall." So I went in the next morning, resigned my job with public accounting, and took the Federal Express down and reported for duty the next morning and the office of the Chief of Staff. And my boss said to me, "Take the day off, find a place to live, and come ready to work tomorrow." That's how it started. I worked in General Marshall's office from 1940 to November 45, and I rose to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. General Marshall was surrounded by a lot of remarkable people. I mean, Eisenhower worked for him. Smith was a major in the office when I was there. Bradley was a major. He signed my honeymoon orders. I got engaged the first summer I was there. I met a girl at a church supper. We had a romance and got married September before Pearl Harbor. We had a honeymoon at Sea Island. That's in Florida. It's a very fancy resort. Pearl Harbor Day, I was having a cocktail party, and they called up and said that Pearl Harbor had happened. General Marshall was going to the White House, and we were ordered to come in uniform the next day. I guess we thought something would happen, but we didn't expect Pearl Harbor, because they weren't ready. They sent them a warning the night before, but it didn't get there in time.
The Legion of Merit is a military award of the United States Armed Forces that's given for exceptionally meritorious conduct in the performance of outstanding services and achievements. This award was presented to Gorham by General George C. Marshall in 1945, which was the last day both of them were in office. And Gorham had 3 of his 4 children while he was in the Army. After the war, Gorham worked for 3 years as Secretary, Treasurer, and Chief Financial Officer for Saco Lowell, which was one of the largest textile machine manufacturers in the United States at that time.
Saco Lowell went broke, and I then worked for a company called EBSCO. I worked for a famous man named Bernard Gordon, and after a year or 2 there, I went to work with Boston Safe Deposit and Trust Company.
In the 50s, we loved Lucy, we loved Marilyn, we liked Ike, and we swooned for Elvis. And then there was the mysterious Sputnik. Gorham founded the Treasurers Club, always looking for ways to make relationships flourish in a networking format. Gorham worked for the Boston Safe Deposit and Trust Company through its purchase by Boston 5-Cent Savings Bank. One day, his boss suggested that in his spare time, Gorham should oversee hospital laundry, which was an organization that provided clean linens to Boston's hospitals. At the time, Gorham had a full-time job, 4 young kids at home, the Army Reserves, and a lot of other things to do. But oversee it, he did. Come on into the jailhouse, rock with me, rock. The 60s stirred us up with the British invasion and the Beatles, 9 world championships by the Boston Celtics, a man on the moon, and the summer of love. But we also saw the assassinations of 3 important and beloved leaders, President John Kennedy, Senator Robert Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King. Gorham joined FEI in 1963 and became president the very next year. He was one of the first 5 people to be inducted into the FEI Hall of Fame in 2006. More about that later. Gorham was promoted to colonel and continued to serve in the U.S. Army Reserve until 1967. Today, Gorham is still the only lifetime member of the Salvation Army's Greater Boston Advisory Board, since joining that organization after World War II. The hippies ushered in the 1970s, followed by Jaws, Jimmy Carter, John Travolta's Disco World, and Bobby Orr's famous flying Stanley Cup winning goal. And Amy and Gorham enjoyed the good life. Ah, those glittering 1980s. They showed us Pac-Man, boomboxes, the beautiful Princess Diana, Michael Jackson's Moonwalk, and the birth of personal computers and software. Gorham was part of the merger of Boston 5 with Citizens Bank at that time and was in the prime of his banking career.
Later in life, I was with Boston 5 when it was bought by Citizens Bank at a time when Larry Fish was the CEO. And Larry interviewed me for a job at Citizens. After a long interview, he said, "Gorham, I don't see any reason why I should hire you. You really don't know much about anything. What can you say on your behalf?" "Larry, I'll bring in lots of business." He said, "I'll hire you."
Enjoying important 50-year reunions and, as always, making more and more friends along the way.
Touch this.
Dream teams dominated Boston in the 1990s, as did the legendary Mayor Menino and the destruction of the original Boston Garden. Gorham was honored at President's Night at the Country Club for his role with Treasurers Club and enjoyed spending lots and lots of time with his family. Which brings us to our current era of the 2000s. It's the era of too much information, the era of the first African-American U.S. president, the joy of 4 winning local pro sports teams, and the unfortunate aftermath of aggressive terrorism, but the hopeful promise of more unity around the globe. In Gorham's world, the 2000s are a time of family celebrations, continuous giving, landmark reunions and birthdays, and Lifetime Achievement Awards. So many big birthdays and wonderful family celebrations in the 2000s, and they continue on and on. Gorham was inducted into the FEI Hall of Fame in 2006, an award which was accepted on his behalf in New York City by Joe DiLorenzo. Al Faber and Mike Simons attended a local Boston chapter celebration of that award.
The Financial Executives International Hall of Fame was established to formally recognize individuals who have made significant and long-term contributions to this dynamic profession. Gorham, tonight we present you and our other inductees with this special honor. This award recognizes your exceptional leadership, accomplishments as a financial executive, and extraordinary professionalism and pride, and someone who's been influential in enhancing credibility in the profession. On behalf of FEI, Gorham, congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a privilege to be a member of FEI. It's been one of the most important factors in my life the last 42 years, where I've attended many meetings, seminars, conferences, and at the same time gained great professional knowledge, made many wonderful friends, and good contacts in the business world. It's an honor to be honored, and I thank you very much, Colleen.
Our pleasure.
Boston Business Journal created the CFO of the Year Award in 2009. It was designed to recognize contributions to community, commitment to financial best practices, and strategic vision. Gorham won this first award, and that award is now named in his honor. Gorham received the first Harvard Business School Volunteer Service Award in 2012 in honor of the length of his service as class secretary and treasurer. Always wanting to stay in touch with his many, many friends, Gorham has hosted hundreds and hundreds of lunch dates since his retirement. Some were originally at the Country Club, and in recent years, many at the 37 Perkins Street Bistro. A collage of Gorham's affiliations includes an astonishing 75 years of involvement with schools, hospitals, financial clubs, military organizations, and charities. At 100 years old, Gorham is still actively involved in fundraising and other responsibilities as class secretary and treasurer of his Harvard College class of 1937 and his Harvard Business School class of 1939. Gorham and his family have distinguished relationships with many, many historic and patriotic organizations.
Cardinal Cushing asked me to be a trustee of St. Elizabeth's. I was the first Protestant to be on that board. I remember my first meeting, I was in the back row keeping quiet, and then I raised my hand and I said, we don't have any women on the board. And I remember when the next meeting, a very nice looking woman was there, and he said, bring her up here where I can look at her. Society of the Mayflower Descendants. I had two men people on the Mayflower, Stephen Hopkins and Brewster. And then Gorham said I was active in the Society of the Cincinnati, was president of the Mass Society, and active in the Colonial Wars. When we moved out here, I got active in Newton Wellesley Hospital and became an overseer and trustee. Our children have been going to the Carroll School, which was a little nursery school. The head of the school wanted to retire, so I ran into this business of dyslexia, and another fellow and I got interested, and we founded the Carroll School, which is a school for dyslexic children. And for a place, we bought this little school, and later we moved it to Lincoln. Today, the Carroll School has over 400 pupils, probably the best known school for dyslexia in the world. So there's the story pretty much.
100 years of giving, relationship building, hard work, patriotism, and good old-fashioned family love. Gorham's world is one of great character, of unquestionable ethics, high morals, and a whole lot of warm affection. Gorham has taught us all so much, and he goes on to inspire us every day. Happy 100th birthday, Gorham. We all love you.